Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Appreciate you guys turning in, and let's try to see if we can make something out of this show today. So listen, I come across a video that I want us to discuss a little bit. I think I did an earlier video on this regarding the issue of tariff, how it works, and what it's supposed to do from an economic principle. So now that it has happened that Trump has imposed tariff on China, or potentially planning on imposing tariff on China, and I think he has done that with Mexico, or about to do that with Mexico coming Tuesday. And of course the Canadian one, we already know that one is active. I think he's done it for Mexico and Canada already. And I know the Canadian one, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau already responded with his own I guess reciprocated response at 25%, even though his response is more targeted toward the red state. So anyway, let's I think this lack of understanding, if I should call it that, cut across different spectrum. And it doesn't matter whether not everybody's educated in economics. Okay. So a lot of business people probably don't understand how tariff works, not to talk about politicians and a lot of stuff. So unless you have an understanding in economics, you really don't really understand what tariff is and what it's supposed to do. But anyway, I saw this clip, and I wanted you guys to kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. You people not understanding what tariff is and what it's supposed to do, and all of that. So listen to this clip for a little bit, and we'll pause it a couple of times and talk about it. Okay, let's go.
This video, I want to explain in the clearest terms I'm able to muster why Trump's blanket country tariffs, China, Mexico, Canada. I want to explain why these blanket tariffs will not work the way that Trump and MAGA think they will. And I will tell you when and how tariffs can work. Now, as a reminder of how clueless people are on this issue, I want to play for you this appearance I had. When I was in Vegas a few months ago, I went on the Sean Mike Kelly podcast. It's supposedly one of the top business podcasts in the country. I don't know whether that's true or not. That's what the podcast claims. And the host of one of these supposedly top business podcasts in the country had no idea how tariffs work. This clip went giga-viral. It was seen something like 50 million times. Take a look at this.
So when it comes to Trump, do you dislike his policies or him as a person, or both?
I don't dislike Trump as a person, in the sense that I've never met the guy. So I think he has a lot of personality traits that make him completely unsuited to being president. And also, I think his policy prescriptions, to the extent that they exist and he understands them, which is a different part of it. A lot of the stuff Trump talks about, he still doesn't know how tariffs work. We're 8 years into this thing, 9 years in. He still thinks China pays the tariffs when they're paid by American
Yeah, I've seen him
companies.
talk about tariffs.
Very confused guy.
Wait, so China's not paying tariffs right now?
The tariffs are paid by the American companies that import the Chinese goods. That's the way it's such a fundamental, and I see you looking a little confused
Yeah,
on
I'm
this
confused.
one. This is the way tariffs work. What Trump did is place.
All right, guys. So it is kind of interesting that people. I'm actually really shocked that people don't understand how tariff work. But then again, I'm not shocked that people don't understand how tariff work. Okay, because if you come to think about it, it's not something people read or talk about, or it's not a movie or anything like that. It's not a common knowledge. Like I said, if you're not specifically school in the School of Economics, I should say, you won't understand how tariff works. Okay, tariff works not just one way. Okay, all right, it works multiple ways. Okay, yes, one way is what David just said. Yes, if you're importing the goods from China to America, okay, the people that is importing that goods pay the tariff. Okay, so let's say this 25% tariff. So if I'm an importer, say I don't know, let's say I import what is a good product to import from China? Let's say electronics. Okay, I'm importing electronics from China. Okay, I as the importer will pay the 25% tariff on that stuff. Okay, once it gets to our border to clear custom, that's where the tariff comes in. Okay, at the custom clearing, you have to pay 25% of any goods that is coming from China. This is on a more basic, I think I'm giving you guys a more insider knowledge than just academic knowledge. Okay, so on the insider knowledge, when it gets to the custom, you pay 25% on those import. Okay, where David is saying that the American people pay for it, yes, of course. If the person is importing from China to America, probably is an American citizen, right? So he's paying the 25% tariff. But it doesn't end there. That 25% tariff that the importer is paying on that good is not going to stomach that cost. It's going to pass that into the end user, the end consumer, you and me, that is going to buy, say, the TV, whatever. That 25% tariff will be passed on to me. So, say for instance, a TV that costs $200. Okay, would 200 be a good? Yeah, $200. That costs $200. Okay. So I imported the TV at the cost of $200. Pay one. 25% of $200 would be what? $50, right? So now the cost of TV has gone from $200 to $250. So now that TV that I would have probably sold it for, say, $250, I cannot sell it for $250 anymore, because now that TV is now costing me $250 instead of the $200 that I bought it from China, excluding other charges. So I'm not talking about transportation charge, shipping charge, all of that. I'm just talking about, let's just talk about the cost and the additional tariff that comes with it. Okay, so now I have to raise the TV to, say, $300 if I wanted to make it 25%, profit on it. You can, basic standard profit on goods. Normally people set it to be 20%, 10%, 15%, but you get the idea. Okay, so now the American people are paying that $50 extra cost on that TV, because retailers or wholesalers or distributors, they're not going to stomach that tariff cost. And even if they want to, they're not going to stomach all of it. They might stomach like 10% of it, they might stomach like 20% of it, but the consumer will still be the one to be responsible for the other 80%. Okay, now that's importing. Okay, the same principle also applies if the company is in China and they're exporting their product to America. Okay, they're exporting their product to America. Once the product gets to the custom, to the American border, they have to pay that 25% tariff. So now, if they're the one retailing that product, technically the Chinese people are the first people that pay the tariff, but they will pass that cost to the American people. So either way you're looking at it, at the end of the day, it's the American people that will pay the tariff, the end user that will pay the tariff on the product. Let's continue with the video.
Tariffs on Chinese imports. By the time the imports get here, China's been paid for the stuff. Maybe they get net 120 terms, right? But in a sense, China has already transacted. The American company who brings the goods in pays the tariffs.
Really?
You're kidding right now.
No, I thought he said he was raising the tariffs by 50 to 100% for Chinese imports.
Ford, you gotta clip this. I'm begging you. You gotta clip this.
Okay, so, so as you can see, even the host of one of the top business podcasts in the country doesn't know how this works.
Okay, let's stop there again. I said earlier, I said, look, even business people do not understand how tariff works, and I'm even shocked. I one way I'm glad that I do understand this stuff, because it is my, you know, I read a few books on economics. Let me put it that way, so I know one or two things about economics. Okay, so business people, whether they top podcasts and stuff, in fact, it's a revelation in a way that people don't really understand the concept of tariffs. It is shocking. So when somebody say, I'm putting 100% tariff on something, let me put it on a language people can understand. I am taxing you. Look at it as a sales tax. It's another thing. Or income tax. It's like somebody say, I'm taxing you 100% on your income. So that means if I put a tariff of 100% on any goods coming from China, if I bought that goods for $100, when it gets to the US, I have to pay another $100 on top of that goods, which makes it $200 for that individual, that specific number, that one goods that I bought. So now the goods goes from a cost of $100 to $200. So not everybody should be on social media. I'm really serious about it. And not everybody should be talking on social media about stuff they don't understand. In fact, this is wow. It is a wow factor for me, but that's why I'm here, and I guess I'll try to shine some light on this stuff so that you guys really understand what we're dealing with here. That this tariff is really for the American people. It's really for the American. I explained. Go back and look for my video that I talked about tariff. Okay, you see it. I explained in detail what tariff is and how it's supposed to be applied from an economic perspective. Okay, that video though had a very low number of view. Like you guys can see, the channel is new, so there's not a lot of subscribers, and my video is not going that viral. But the point is that it contains a lot of information, a lot of good information that I'm shocked that people don't know, and which explain the kind of shock and disaster everybody's seeing now. I guess when the president was talking about imposing tariff, people were thinking that he was fighting for you. No. He will only fight for you if that is in the sense that I explained in my other video, which is that if there's something to protect, this tariff, like David say, it's just a random application of tariff, not with a specific purpose in mind, and which is going to cause damage and increase in price and inflation and all of that stuff. Okay, let's continue. We might not have to see the entire video, but by now I think you've pretty much get a good idea what tariff is and what's wrong with the general discussion of tariff, and a lot of people don't understand what tariff is supposed to mean.
Blanket tariffs on an entire country sound really tough, but they almost never work as intended because they don't address the realities of global trade and supply chains. The idea behind tariffs is you make the imported goods more expensive for the company doing the importing. And then if you're an American company and you say, oh, all of a sudden this stuff from China is more money, I'll make it myself. That's the dream, right? I'll hire people here and I'll make it myself. The catch is that, number one, industries don't magically spring up overnight. So
David is a little yes, there's just a little bit of he is right, but there's something missing in his statement. Okay, yes, like I think the following statement wanted to mention something like that industry don't normally spring up. Like I said in my other video, tariff is applied for a specific reason. Okay, let me just say one thing from my other video. If you have, if I go to the detail, it's going to make this video longer. But if you have a young company, okay, what we call infantry company, that is producing, let's say, what should we say? Headphones. Okay, they're producing headphones. They're starting to produce headphones. Now you have a company like, I don't want to mention any big company, but you probably have an idea. Company that is big in producing headphones, okay, and they're not American company, or they're outside America. So, but you want to encourage this company in America, this small company that's starting to produce headphones. But because they're starting small, their cost of production is going to be high. They're not very, very efficient and good at what they're doing, and they're still growing, right? Take, say, a startup, for instance. A startup is, they're just trying to find their feelings, okay? But you want to help this startup to grow and big, right? The other company that's outside the country already producing mass production of headphones, okay, and they've probably been they've been able to cut down their costs, and it costs them almost next to nothing to produce one headphone. Now they're dumping all those headphones in America. There is no chance in the world that this small company in America is going to be able to compete in price or even quality, okay? So for you to be able to let this company in your home country be able to grow, one way you can mitigate that problem is to put tariff on the company that is big from the outside, so that whether they like it or not, by force, that will raise the price of their product. Like I explained earlier, when it gets to the custom, that extra tariff that they pay, say 25%, will raise the cost of your product. And because of that, then your internal company, your local company that is producing a headphone, might be able to compete in price, or it can even be lower than that. Then people will prefer to go to that company and buy their headphone because it's cheaper than the imported one. That's the real reason tariff is used. That's the real reason tariff is used. It's not really used to bring up a new company. No, that's not why it is used. But it can be an incentive for somebody to say, let me start a company and make this thing here, since it's too expensive to buy from overseas. But you gotta understand that it's expensive to start a company. You can't do it overnight. So the former reason that I gave is the real reason tariff is that, right? But let's continue for a little bit. I don't want to make this video too long, so let's listen for a little bit more, maybe for another 2 minutes, then we'll close this discussion, okay?
In order to say, well, we'll just do domestic steel and domestic smartphones and domestic laptops. This stuff takes years or sometimes decades to build. In the meantime, you also won't just go from China to the US. You'll say, well, where else can I get this thing? Maybe at a little more money. It'll still increase the cost domestically. It won't bring the manufacturing back home. Now, I'll give you an example of failed thinking on this. I saw this video on TikTok. This is a guy who goes by the name Effing History, and he seems to be explaining to us the very big boy truth about how Trump's tariffs are going to be great. Take a listen.
Tariffs are going to make things more expensive. Let me learn you something real quick. When they put tariffs on imported goods, that gives an incentive to domestic companies to produce those goods, increasing...
Wrong. It gives an incentive to domestic companies to figure out how to get them at the cheapest available price.
Well, not even at the cheapest available price. Okay, I've given you guys a very real reason why it is not possible to use tariff to reduce the cost of that item locally. I don't want to go into it deep, but there's no way a new company that just started can produce the same item at a cheaper cost compared to the company that has been producing that thing for years and has mastered it, and probably it's deployed AI and deployed machines, and I mean they've perfected their production. There's no way local company can compete. Which brings me to another thing which I don't want to go into. Maybe we'll talk about it in a different video, which is the reason for global trade. Okay, the concept of surplus. Okay, when most surplus allowed a country that is surplus, there's another word, competitive advantage, which means that if I know how to produce one item much better than you, it will be cheaper for me to send that item to the country at even a lower cost. because it is more expensive for you to produce that same item locally. Let me give you a simple example. The cost of labor locally can be very high compared to the cost of labor outside the country, which is what led to globalization in the first place and outsourcing and stuff. So things that are produced outside for 10% of the cost might cost 70% of the cost to produce it somewhere else. So all this factor plays into it. So this really shows the lack of understanding how economics works and the global economic work and the concept of comparative advantage, and the goal of surplus. Okay, all right. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end the video here. I mean, we can keep going, but I don't want the video to be too long. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and hopefully we'll grow the channel together. Thank you. Bye.